There is no way that this just happened. After he slapped Mendes in the car, Yandy threw Mendes out of the house. This family drama took a turn that no one anticipated. We thought their tension was already high, but now imagine the scene where Mendeecees and Lil Mendes are riding in the car when suddenly there is a full-on slap. I have all the inside scoop on this messy situation, and trust me, you're not prepared for these details. From covered arguments to violent fights, this drama is delivering full-on reality TV. Chaos, and let's not forget the streets. But hold on, why did this even happen? What did Mendeecees say that caused his son to snap like that? And more importantly, why did Yandy react like this? Mendes and Lil Mendes have been having tension for a minute. We've all seen the signs and heard the whispers, but no one anticipated that things would get this out of control like father-son relationships can. So grab some popcorn and get ready to break this down completely. It can be complicated, but let's take a moment to go back in time. If you recall, Lil Mendes and his father had a tense relationship for years. Ever since Mendes was imprisoned, nothing has been the same, and when he was released, the damage had already been done. You could feel the tension on the screen whenever they interacted. Lil Mendes had to mature quickly while his father was incarcerated, and his mother, Yandy, was keeping him straight and making sure he felt supported. However, as soon as Mendes returned, everything seemed to change. It seemed as though he expected his son to instantly fall into line and act as though nothing had happened. But you all know that's not how this works. When Mendeecees publicly acknowledged that he wasn't sure if he would have held Yandy down if the roles had been reversed, Chila, the internet was not amused. If he could do that to his wife, just think of the amount of energy he's been giving his own son behind closed doors. Years of resentment don't just go away overnight. And let's face it, Mendeecees hasn't exactly been father of the year. Doors fast forward to this recent car ride, and all of the tension that had been building between them suddenly erupted. From what we heard, the argument began over a minor issue, just one of those informal father-son arguments. But let's face it, when tension builds for years, even the smallest thing can escalate into a full-fledged conflict. According to sources, Mendes was approaching Lil Mendes over. Lil Mendeecees was not having it and retaliated by telling his dad that he doesn't respect him because he hasn't been there for you. That's the kind of remark that will pierce deeply, and Mendes said that he's been acting too disrespectfully lately. You know how fathers try to assert their dominance like, boy, you better watch your tone when you talk to me. He did what he always does, which is to try to control the situation rather than actually fix it, rather than simply listening and understanding his son's perspective. You all know how this works. When parents feel that their children are becoming too bold, they try to shut it down right away because they feel disrespected, and instead of understanding, they just double down. You want to act like a father now? Where was this energy when I needed you? Mendes calls out to Lil Mendes to change his attitude, essentially checking him, and that's when it all fell apart. Boom, mic drop, y'all. If that isn't the most powerful line of the decade, I don't know what is. But before men could even react, Lil Mendes slapped him. I'm not sure if he blacked out from anger, if it was instinct, or if he had been waiting for this moment his entire life, but he swung, and the next thing you know, Mendes is sitting there in shock, as if his son had actually hit him, and for the first time in a long time, he didn't know how. The craziest part is that instead of snapping, you would have expected Mendes to be screaming, running away, or even swinging back. Instead, he simply sat there as if he had seen a ghost, which is understandable given that he finally realized he had lost his son at that very moment. Just when he thought things couldn't get any worse, Yandy entered the chat window, but she wasn't even present when the slap happened, but as soon as she learned about it, she lost it. She started screaming and crying, demanding to know what the hell had happened. When she finished piecing together her next course of action, no one anticipated it. She told Lil Mendes to leave, and the whole family was torn apart. But before we even get into that mess, let's discuss the fallout from. People on the internet were divided. with some calling Lil Mendeecees disrespectful and saying things like, "You never lay hands on your father no matter how bad things get." Others were outright supporting him, claiming he was simply letting out years of pent-up anger. The slap really quit cosmoses weren't the only ones who felt the shock. After being ignored, the memes took over, and some people dubbed it the father-son smackdown of 2025. Others said that Mendes received his just desserts, and some even likened it to the Will Smith and Chris Rock incident where they said, "Keep your name out of your mouth." If you think this is crazy, wait until I tell you how this family feud partially intensifies. Second, when I tell you that Yandy's next move was unthinkable, you all buckle up. Then all of a sudden, Lil Mendes slapped his father, Mendes, in the car, leaving the whole family in ruins. However, what happened next is what made this situation go from messy to completely unthinkable, because Yandy had to make a decision that would alter everything. Now, let's continue. To be honest, Yandy has been raising Lil Mendes since he was a small child. She held him down while he was in jail and made sure he had everything he needed. You can imagine that this was difficult, but she also loves Mendes, and witnessing her son assault his own father was the last straw. What does Yandy do? Looks directly at Lil Mendes and says, "You have to go." Let me tell you, no one anticipated this, and the internet went into a full-blown meltdown, with people screaming at their screens and on Twitter in flames. Let's face it, nobody expected Yandy to turn on Lil Mendeecees in that way. But let's break. There are two sides to this issue. On the one hand, some argue that Lil Men was completely incorrect and that you never confronted your father, forcing Tiffany to stand up for herself. On the other hand, some argue that, wait a damn minute, how are you going to kick out the same kid you've been raising all these years? Isn't he the one who was abandoned by his dad? Perhaps the way people were arguing in. Let's talk about Lil Mendes' reaction before we get into these messy comment sections. This boy was shocked, and he looked at Yandy as if he couldn't believe what he had just heard. This woman who had always been his ride-or-die protector told him to leave, and let's be honest, Lil Mendes is no fool. He knew this slap would cause issues, but he never imagined it would get to this point. So you know what he did. He said, "Oh, so now I'm the bad guy after everything I've been through." And then he laughed uncontrollably, sarcastically, and in an unbelievable way. Y'all are wrenching. But Yandy didn't budge. She stood firm. She was like, "I don't care what. After everything you've gone through, you went too far." Then Lil Mendes packed up his belongings and left. This is where things get really crazy, because now that he's out of the house, he's talking on the streets and revealing everything. He went straight to social media and revealed family secrets, posting mysterious messages, and he even went live and he revealed everything. He began by revealing how Mendes was never truly present, how he used to act as though he cared only for the cameras, and how he only began to act like a father when it was convenient for him. Then he dropped the biggest bombshell: Yandy isn't as innocent as she tries to make herself out to be. Meanwhile, at that point, the internet went from shocked to straight up speechless, because, let's be real, Yandy has always had that perfect wife, perfect mother image. She's the one who's supposed to be the peacemaker, the one who keeps everything together. But Lil Mendes, he was key. Mina, let's talk about the real Yandy. At that point, things really started to change. He began to hint that Yandy only looked after him to please the cameras, and that she was a completely different person behind closed doors. He even said, "Y'all really think she just took me out of love? Or was it because it made her look like the perfect wife?" You folks at this stage, I don't even know who to believe, because, let's face it, on the one hand, Lil Mendes is out here looking like a kid who has been through a lot and is finally speaking the truth. But on the other hand, people were asking whether he was just acting out because he was expelled, and then, because this situation wasn't already messy enough, Mendes finally speaks up. At first, he was quiet and didn't say anything for days without Instagram posts, comments, or anything. But then he did an interview, and I'll tell you what, this interview was pure damage control. He prepared the script, the sad face, and the "I'm just a hurt father" routine. And he sat there like, as a man, "I just never thought my son would turn on me like this," while the interviewer was giggling. "Wow, that must be so unpleasant for you. I'm not perfect, but I tried to be a father, and seeing my son treat me disrespectfully hurt me more than anything. Oh, please, sir, where was this loving father energy when he was out here being a deadbeat for years?" The internet wasn't available, and Mendes hit M with the classic at the end of the day. "Oh, so now you want to play the victim, sir? You haven't been a father for years. This isn't just about a slap." Someone commented, believing it. Mendes has been acting as though he hasn't abandoned the boy for half of his life, and the problem has only become worse because, guess what? Mendes' other baby mama chose to join in with Erica. "Oh, now you all see what I've been saying for years," she said as she came in full force, "baby. Men have been an asterisk to you all." This drama was evolving from a family quarrel to a full-fledged soap opera, with Lil Mendes revealing secrets and Mendeecees attempting to play the victim, with Yandy stuck in the middle. Looking culpable as hell, Erica appeared out of nowhere to add fuel to the fire. And then, just when we thought that this mess couldn't get any worse, someone dropped receipts. When I tell you that these receipts changed everything, you're not prepared, because what was in those texts demonstrated that this family had been a hoax for years, and what happened next was a fight. Was already on fire, but then someone dropped the receipts, and when I tell you, the whole story was turned upside down. Wow, what was in those screenshots, voicemails, text messages, and baby? These messages demonstrated that this family had been lying for years, and it wasn't just Lil Mendes who was acting irrationally. These receipts also revealed that Mendes and Yandy had been lying behind closed doors, had been putting up this ideal family picture for the cameras, but the truth was completely poisonous, and Mendes' you revealed him in one of the texts, stating, "I only do this for TV. I have to look like I'm trying." Oh my goodness. So as he was sobbing in interviews about, "I just want to be a father." No, you just want to look good for the cameras, the receipt said. Remember when Lil Mendes claimed that Yandy wasn't as innocent as she acts, baby? These messages supported that claim, and if it wasn't terrible enough, the receipts also revealed that this man was out there pretending to be the father of the year, when in fact he hasn't been around like that. Yandy was seen texting Mendeecees saying, "I can't keep doing this. He's not even my real son." Excuse me, like, huh? Not your real son? Baby Lily has been calling this woman mom for years. She has been out here claiming she loved him like her own, and now she's texting his real father, saying she can't keep pretending. Y'all, this was bad because now the internet didn't know who to blame. Do you think that Yandy was a loving stepmother, or was she just acting for the cameras? Did Mendes truly try to maintain appearances, or was he just trying? Because this story wasn't crazy enough, guess who showed up? Mama D, yes. LHA royalty, the queen of messy and contemptuous relationships. I think she came with the biggest insult when she said, "See, this is why I say you'll need to stop faking these TV relationships, because the truth always comes out on Instagram Live." She continued, saying without hesitation, "I've known Mendes wasn't a Yandy and been playing stepmom for a plot, and I don't blame Lil Mendeecees for snapping at you all, but at this point, the hip-hop and love world was trembling. Lil Mendeecees was speaking the truth, exposing Yandy and Mendes, and Mama D was putting gasoline on the fire. Then, just when we thought it was over, Camila, yes, Joel Santana's wife, the same Kim fella who had an affair with Yandy years prior, jumped in. She was waiting for this moment, so she went on Instagram and said, Yandy will do anything to make herself look good, even if it means throwing Lil Mendes under the bus. You can see what I was saying about Yandy. This woman has been fake, and I've been trying to tell you, but you would rather not listen." This wasn't just family drama at this point. It was a full-fledged expose. Due to the fact that the story was becoming more and more messy, Lil Men returned to the internet, and he had one last thing to say before going live once more. This time, he was more composed and solemn, and he simply stated, "I don't care what anybody says about me. I know my truth. I know what I've been through," and the internet fell silent after he said, "I know who really loves me and who is just using me." He then looked dead in the camera and said, "I'll never be fake for anybody. Who's why they're mad?" Ultimately, regardless of your stance, it was evident that this family was never what they pretended to be. But now that everything is public, the real question is what will happen, because after all of this chaos, Eno is returning. Wow, everyone, this is insane. Did we just see a whole family fall apart in real time? This isn't just any drama. It's years of lies, secrets, and phony family objectives being revealed, and the biggest question is what will happen next. We still don't know the whole story, because if these messages leak, what else might be out there? Will more receipts be dropped? And will another reality star? Next up, is Lil Mendes done with his father forever? Will Yandy finally confess that she's been acting like a stepmother for the cameras? Will Mendes even try to fix this, or will he just keep blaming everyone else? Please let me know in the comments whose side you are on. Is Lil Mendeecees just a rebellious kid, or is he the only one telling the truth? What do you all think is next for this family? Let's get into it, because, baby, I know that even though this is a complete mess, it's not over. And when the next bombshell drops, you already know we're going to break it down right here. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, so please press the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications while you're at it. I promise you won't want to miss the next update on this mess. This is only the beginning.